How we doing? Can you hear me all right? Sound effects are intact. Check.
So, brand new sponsors intact
Come on.
right here.
What the heck is that?
Still face.
You've been enjoying you've had some listening pleasure, huh?
I have actually. It's really good, Michael.
Oh, good.
So, still face for you guys that don't know is Mike's band, and I don't know if you can see this or not because the drummer in the band there, and he does really good job. And I love the whole CD, man. Just three of them that really jump out at me like crazy.
Which three? Do you remember the numbers?
I think it was 3, 5, and 6.
3, 5, and 6. So Karma Awakening,
Yeah,
Sadness, and 6 again.
yeah. I like all of it though, but that's pretty good, man. Good job.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
You guys should
You
keep
were on
going.
the short list you were on the short list of people getting that in an envelope to them the day it arrived to us. So
When I listen to it, it makes me feel like going. So what's going on with you?
well, crazy couple of weeks, my friend.
Yeah.
Crazy couple of weeks. What is going on here? All sorts of stuff popping up. There it is.
So my Tampa Bay Lightning is going into the Stanley Cup playoffs of the final
Yes, they did.
again.
I was, as you may or may not know, I was originally a native of Long Island, New York. So
Oh yeah.
the New York Islanders lost in Game 7 to the Tampa Bay Lightning, who were going into the Stanley Cup Finals against the Montreal Canadiens.
So I have a couple of friends that are from Massachusetts, but they live in Florida now. Well, one does. The other one lives in here in the winter. And they're both big fans of the Canadians. So I'm arguing with them all along because he said, hey, listen, how about the home team, even though you don't live in Tampa? It's America against the Canada. Come on, man, let's go.
That's a no-brainer. Oh, you're not supposed to say that. However, oh boy, I have a Canadian in my life, as you know. Although, you know what? We're good. She hates Montreal. We're good.
Well, your sweetheart is Canadian?
Yes.
I didn't know that. See? From now on, she's off my list.
The keeper.
The keeper, yeah. She's a
Well, first of all, she hates the Montreal Canadiens. So now she's back on your list.
back on the list.
And after 88, 98, 08, 18, jeepers, after 32 years here, she became a U.S. citizen last summer.
Nice. That's awesome.
So now she's firmly back on your list.
So I remember when I did it, my parents became citizens. And my two younger sisters automatically became a citizen because my parents did. But I was already 16. So if you're 16, you can't just be automatic. So I had to wait until I was 18 to become a citizen.
Wow.
As soon as I could, I drove to Lowell, Massachusetts to go to the court and, denounce the
Do all the stuff.
and become an American citizen.
So that's interesting. Your younger sisters, because they were younger than 16, as your parents became citizens, they automatically became citizens?
Right, yeah. But I had to want it and had to go after it and earn it myself. What do you think of that?
I respect it. I respect it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So actually, this is it. We got a lot of this going on. My dad, and we'll talk about my dad. My dad came here from Ireland in 1949.
Wow.
Became a citizen. I actually have not a copy. I have his exact laminated certificate of naturalization in 1955. Yeah.
I should send you a picture of mine because the hairdo that I had back then was amazing. I had long hair.
I think I might have seen that picture
It was
before.
parted on the side. It wasn't before I had the afro. It was like parted on the side and way down here to the shoulders. Funny.
Oh, this wasn't. I've seen the afro shot. This wasn't the afro.
No, before the afro, I used to comb my hair to the side and I used to comb it, iron it with the ironing board. I think I told you that before. And one time I almost burned my ear off because it went too close. You know how I could tell it was burning? I could hear the sizzling.
I was going to say you could probably smell it too.
Oh yeah, crazy, huh?
Oh my goodness.
So I have a really cool quote that I saw this week that I want to share with you.
Please.
If I can get to it, here we go. Maybe I can't. There it is. You know, people always say before you judge a man, walk a mile in the shoes.
Yeah.
Then after a mile, it doesn't really matter because you have your shoes and he can't catch up with you anyway, so it doesn't matter. What do you think of that? Huh?
You know, I've been hanging around you a long time, and once in a while you catch me and I actually laugh at something that you say. And that was one of those times. That's cute. I like that.
So I was watching the number 5 episode of our thing when I was doing the valuable tip to people that do Zoom meetings with people at work, but they do it from home. When I first started saying about that, you were saying, "Oh yeah, this is a great thing. People need these tips. It's going to be very helpful."
Mm.
And then when I actually was showing, explaining what it was, your facial expression started changing slowly, and then gradually it went into like you are now, like just laughing. I was like, "Wow!" So you weren't expecting that at all.
Oh, and the one about that tough night you had when you slept like a baby and rolled over and tried to breastfeed. So I got a quote for you. I like this one. This actually came in a card today in the mail. And my dear friend, she wrote this in here and it says, life is like a camera. Just focus on what's important, capture the good times, develop from the negatives. And if things don't work out, just take another shot.
Ooh, that's good.
That is good.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was young, I was poor. But after years of hard work, I am no longer young.
Is that it?
When I was young, I was poor. But after
Yeah.
years of hard work, I'm no longer young.
I got you. I think I must need another cup of coffee. I didn't get that the first time through.
So, you know, Dr. Fauci,
Yes.
he's under attack a little bit because they found some emails that we have evidence now that he was lying to us all along.
Oh boy.
Now he says if you wear 2 swimsuits this summer, you'll be able to pee in the pool.
I remember when I was a kid, we had this gigantic public swimming pool. You know, it's funny, I say gigantic, which doesn't have any measure to it. When I was a little kid, my perspective was this thing was like an ocean.
Yeah.
And I took pictures of it recently because it's still there. And not as big as I remember it being. But we were convinced that they had a chemical in the pool that if you peed in the pool, it would turn blue. And so, fear of that happening, nobody that I know of peed in the pool.
I think some pools actually have that thing on there.
Well, this would have been 1968 or 9. So
Probably not back then. Yeah.
not sure that was invented then. A lot of good inventions have happened since 1960.
So you had a situation happen
one of them.
in the last week and a half, 2 weeks with your dad.
Yeah, so my sweet dad, so my dad was born in 1926 in Ireland. And at 20, he was the oldest of 6, 23 years old. He hopped on a boat with a friend and came to America. Just a new start, some work. He had an aunt who he never met who lived in New York City who said, you can come stay with me. And then he borrowed $60 from an aunt in Florida for the boat ride, paid her back with interest, $60, which was a fortune, I would imagine, in 1949. And New York City and did his thing. And it was 49, had a few funny jobs, started working for New York Telephone, spent his career there, met my mom 10 years later. They got married in 1960, had me, moved out to Long Island. Just a great life, which the reason for this is this great life that he finished a couple of weeks ago. And just passed away at 95 and a half years old.
Wow.
And it's certainly sad. And I think I'm probably still in some shock and certainly a lot of relief for him. But what a legacy. Oh my goodness. And he was the sweetest guy. I've been getting calls and cards from friends because any of my friends who ever met him called him a friend. He was just, people are saying the most beautiful things. And I'm hearing stories from friends of mine around about my dad that I didn't experience. I'm hearing these stories for the first time, and it's just fascinating. So really 95 and a half years old, and 95 years and 4 months of those were pretty good. And he had like this really quick 4-week decline. And hospice is incredible. Anybody watching this or here who's experienced hospice, they all say the same thing. These are the most caring angels out there. And they're really quick. My cousin is a nurse, and I was talking to her on a Thursday and explaining what's going on. And she said, he's a perfect candidate for hospice right now. So I called the hospice company. I talked to them a month earlier, and I was kind of saying, this is too soon. We're not ready for this yet. Looking back, we probably were. If I could make one change, I would have called hospice earlier. But 2:30 that afternoon, there was a hospice nurse at my house meeting my dad, who was basically asleep. He was, but not that comfortable, and quite a bit of nerve pain, she called it. That was 2:30, 3 o'clock. At 7 o'clock that night, there was a hospital bed set up in his living room with an air mattress, which was comfortable for him. He had an open sore on his hip. And I had a special pharmacy delivery, and I was giving him some morphine for pain just under his tongue, cherry flavored, by 7 that night. And that was every 2 or 3 hours overnight at 5 in the morning Friday. It appeared to be kind of pain-free. And the hospice nurse showed up with her aide Friday morning, and they gave him a full bath. The word dignity comes to mind when people discuss hospice. And that's what my cousin said. She said, he deserves the dignity the hospice will give him for this last, whatever we got. Yeah. So she shaved him with a razor blade, shaved his face, clean shaven, and washed him. And then I picked him up. He didn't like this part too much, but I picked him up and carried him into the living room and put him into his new comfortable bed. And he was pain-free and at peace, and it was spectacular. And I just kind of hovered around all day Friday, and I was giving his meds every few hours. And then again on Saturday, they came back Saturday morning. We kind of reconvened and talked again. And then Saturday night, what a story. Saturday night, 9:15, I had to give him, this is June 5th, 3 weeks ago today, I had to give him some a medication, which is just like a little syringe I put into his mouth, into his cheek, and it just absorbs. At 9:15, I had to give him another one at 9:30. And so I ran next door to my house, took a shower, and I went back over, and I just could tell something was different. Something's up, or something's not. And I just was, and, I called the hospice nurse, and my favorite Canadian, she was here with all of this, and we're in there together. I said, I think he just passed. And you can look back at it now with a little bit of, there's some humor in this, or maybe we find humor in things. That hospice nurse, as sweet as can be, I called her up and she saw it was me. She goes, how's it going? And I said, I think he just passed away. And she says, I'm sure he did. I'll be there in 20 minutes, meaning I can't believe it made it 3 days since I met him on Thursday. And she came right over, and she was able to pronounce him, which allows us then to call a funeral home. And so there's no 911 in, none of that stuff. Right. So the funeral home, it was just amazing. These guys show up. It was pretty close to midnight, and shirts and ties, and so respectful. And by 12 o'clock, midnight, just after midnight, it was amazing. It was sad. And I've been telling people it's sad. It's sad, but it's not tragic in terms of a nice long life, and healthy the whole way through, and fun. And oh my God, the story, it was a tough couple of weeks. It will continue to be, but I'm hearing some stories. I'm sorry, my computer's about to fall over. Apologize about this, viewers. Where was I? Anyway, hearing some great stories and memories, and it's amazing.
So thank you for sharing that. I told you before that I've always appreciated the way you talk about him. I think he's fortunate to have a son that talks that way about him, because he's obviously a great guy, and I know you loved him and respected him. That was awesome. Yeah, man.
I got a lot of friends checking in on me, which is beautiful. And it's weird, like some of the stuff you expect to be a big deal hasn't really been. Like when they came to pick up the hospital bed, I'm like, oh, this might be tough. it was there for a few days. And then you catch yourself like I'm cleaning out his refrigerator. That was tough. Why is this hard? Yesterday, I had to like break down the TV and return like the cable boxes and the remotes right to the cable company.
Yeah.
And you think not really a big deal, but I'm telling Lynn about it last night, and I start crying talking about returning the cable boxes. I mean, you never know what's going to hit you. Oh,
Yeah, man, that's crazy, isn't it?
I'm just blessed to have such wonderful memories of this sweet, sweet guy. And also, I think to know that he's with my mom, which was, I mean, these two were so in love. It was beautiful. So she's been gone almost 3 years. So it's nice that they are.
Oh, so he was only alone for 3 years?
Yeah, she died Labor Day 3 years ago. This September will be 3 years.
That's not so bad, yeah.
Yeah.
What a crazy thing, huh?
So it really is. It really is.
I noticed you had a lot of friends that made some nice comments on Facebook. I mean, a lot of friends. You have a lot of friends on Facebook.
That's a whole interesting story. I waited a week to put that out.
Yeah.
Following Saturday night, I had the pictures. It just fell into place. The pictures were. I was emailing myself pictures from my phone. I was so glad to get my daughter and her fiance in there. My son was in there. And then what I wrote, I didn't really know what I just started, and then I posted it. But the truth is, just to be transparent here, I have not been back to read all those comments because
A lot of good
stuff. I haven't been able to do it yet. I almost did the other night. I opened it up, I looked at it. It's funny how this happened. I got through like the first like 8 or 10 people because there's 300 and something, I think. And I had a glitch in my computer. And I'm like, I just said, I'm not going to do this that way. So I have not been back to look at all that yet because I suspect that's going to be rather emotional, which I will do at some point. But
yeah. Wow.
so, you kind of forget the reach that Facebook can be. I put that out there, and I was calling a couple of people, just like contractor stuff at my house. I had a guy come by to quote me on some hardwood floors yesterday. So he shows up, and he's a terrific guy, and he's phenomenal what he does, but we're not friends. We don't hang out together. And so he's here on a business proposal, and I called him, and he says, let me just tell you, sorry I was about your father. I'm like, wow. I was taken back, like, oh, that's right. Of course you would have, and so it's nice, actually. It's nice.
Oh, yeah.
And I had another, so I have one of my clients I've done some speaking for, personal development stuff, and is Rockland Trust Bank, big bank here in Central Mass. And they just bought out East Boston Savings Bank. So I have a workshop I'm doing for them in October 5th. And my friend Eileen is my contact there, who's wonderful. And she's met my dad on several occasions. Every time we talk, she says, say hi to your dad, say hi to your dad. And so I had to call her around confirming up this October 5th date location. Actually, that's an exciting location. It's not a Zoom presentation. So we're meeting live. And as a speaker, I'm thrilled. So I said, so I wanted to tell you about my dad too. I said, my sweet dad passed away last week. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Because she had left me a message saying, this is open to the public. So if your dad wants to come, he can. So then I told her this. And so then she said, she didn't even miss a beat. She goes, oh, so your dad will be there. And I'm like, oh, man, that's beautiful. I love that you just said it like that. So that brought me some peace also.
Yeah, that's true, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Fun stuff. I thought I had a kind of a kickoff, really wasn't even my idea, but I had kind of a kickoff celebration party for my motivational speaking business. It was just like, hey, let's invite a bunch of friends and get a room and have some food and drinks, and I'll kind of tell them how this evolved, and I'll talk for 10 minutes, and let's just have a party and celebrate. And there were about 65 people there. This was a few years ago. And my dad was in the room, sitting at the table, watching me kick off this business. And I look back and I'm so glad he was there for that. Pretty cool. He must have been so confused because he does not like to talk in front of groups of people. We had a memorial celebration lunch for my mom when she passed, and there was a pastor there, so it kind of felt servicey, but there were people telling stories and pictures, and I had her urn there. And I sat next to my dad. There's 30, 35 people, friends and relatives. And He kept on saying to me, I'm not talking. I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm like, no, you're off. You're all good with this.
That's funny.
So
So,
interesting.
I don't know about you, but I'm one of those guys that doesn't really care for funerals so much, but I like celebration of life get-togethers where everybody tells stories about the person and so
It's
on, and celebrate the things that he or she liked when they were living.
yeah.
Yeah, that's always
Um,
smart. Yeah.
I am to say I'm looking forward to this lunch is not quite the right thing, but um, I have so many stories to tell, and there's so many cool stories that a lot of people know already. But just and I found this box, like those steel lock boxes with like the important papers, and that my mom had, and she's got expired passports from and like important stuff. And there was a letter in there addressed to my dad from his boss back in like 1963 thanking him for his service on this job he had to do and some really cool stuff. So, and I have so many stories around, well, just hopping in a boat and coming to America and starting over. Like,
That's crazy.
you can relate to that. It's amazing. So,
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That was very
oh,
touching.
God, it's my pleasure. I hope somebody gets something out of it. If I could have called hospice earlier, I would have. Hospice is amazing. Don't wait.
So he lived close to you then?
Hmm?
He lived close to you?
Oh, gosh, we just live across the driveway from each other. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was there, I don't know, 20, 25 times a day. And I dragged him everywhere because he just loved to get out of the house. And so, I would take him often. I'm on some work appointments. And if it was a significant trip, and often they are, like we do all of Western Mass. So it's not unusual at all for me to finish my day and put home in my GPS. And I got an hour and 40 minutes to get home after the day. So if there's longer trips, he would love it. He would jump in the car, and my friend Joe would say, you're going repping with your dad. And, we leave the house at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, get him a coffee on the road, and get home at 6 o'clock that night. And he loved every second. Driving around Western Mass. I would go into appointments. He would sit in the car, read his book. So still face, we played this gig a couple of years ago at this really dumpy place in downtown Framingham. And I brought him to the gig. So I'm going in the load-in door with my drums, and I load my dad in the load-in door, and I sit him at the back table. I give him a beer, and I go, I'll be back in 2 hours. I went and played, and he's just sitting at the table, and he's tapping along, and oh my, people loved it. Who's the old guy in the back? Oh, that's the drummer's dad. I dragged this guy everywhere. Oh, and he loved every second. It was fun. A lot of good memories.
I really like the way that the thing is mixed too, because everything's right there. The drums are good. You can hear all the drums. You do a good job, man. Good
We
timing.
had fun. That was done in a music studio. But it was a big live recording. There was no separate tracks. It was just all live. And he was able to tweak a couple things. Oh, and I'll tell you a funny story about it, since you like song number 3. We were going to record that song, and there was there are 3 different drum parts in that song. And the second and the third ones were rewritten in the studio that day. And what you hear in the CD was the second time we as a band played it.
Wow.
Crazy.
Really cool, man. Good job.
Yeah, it was fun. We're anxious to get back. We got about 4 new songs since then. We're anxious to get back in the studio and do it again. But now this has been kind of fun. Like we're rehearsing this afternoon, and there's a craft brewery. They're all over the place, as you know. What's the name of the one you play it all the time?
Silver King.
Silver King, right? So I got something like that just up the street. Literally, it's 2 blocks from here. And they got music, and so I popped in there yesterday, and I asked, so I got the name of the guy who does the bands, and he's in today at 4. So we're rehearsing from 3 to 5. I'm going to say to these guys, hey, let's finish early. We'll go up the street for a beer. We'll meet this guy. We'll bring a CD, and we'll play for him. Like for us, it's kind of it's like, why not? We're not really looking to, if they want to throw us some money, fine. But I'm like, you can pay us some beer, and we're going to be playing down the street on Saturday from 3 to 6, or we can play in your parking lot from 3 to 6. It's your call, and we'll take 6 beers. That's it.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
You and I met at that one in the downtown Hudson, Medusa.
Medusa.
So friend of mine that has a condo down here in Clearwater, he's up there now, and he lives on Houghton Street, right next to Medusa. So he can sit in front of his house, drinking a beer, whatever, and he can hear the music playing at Medusa. So before, when he couldn't have too many people there because of COVID, I don't know if it's cleaned up a little bit or not, but he
Yeah.
can sit in his front yard and listen to the music from Medusa.
So a lot of these breweries, Medusa included, are very a lot. You get a lot of the one guy on a stool with an acoustic guitar.
Right.
Our mutual friend Pedro has played there. I think solo, and a lot of them are set up for that. The guy in the corner, it's not too loud, it's all good. That's what I see up the street at this place,
Yeah.
and that's not us. So we're a three-piece band. We're a three-piece rock band. It gets louder than an acoustic guy on a stool. But these guys said, we got bands, so okay, be fun. We're just, as musicians, we're so anxious to get back out and play after COVID. And establishments that survived this are anxious to get crowds of people back in. And if we can marry the two things and get paid in some beer and help everybody have some fun, great. And actually, we'll sell the CD now at gigs. That's cool.
So I just saw a thing, how they had like the volume thing on the Marshall amplifier? It was a picture of 4 of them. So the first one was like on number 3, and it said first song. And the second was on about 6, and it said halfway through the set. Then the third one was like almost at 8. That's for the guitar lead. And then the last one was like at 10. Last song.
Last song.
I thought it was funny.
So for all cult films, I would have to ask, what does it take to get it to go to 11?
Ooh.
I had to do it. Everybody gets the reference.
Good stuff, man.
Last song. That's funny.
How about your kids? How your kids taking your loss of your dad, your grandfather?
Yeah, they're okay. My son is had just left 2 weeks before this to go to Colorado for a job. But my son, when he was home, had an apartment, had a bedroom in my dad's place. He spent more time with my father than anybody for the past year. And I called him about the hospice decision. He was like, that sounds like it's great. And when this went down that night, I called him, partly because my first dose, he's 2 hours behind us, so I can call him because it's almost midnight. And he was really okay. I mean, it's sad, but he was really, I wasn't worried about him. He's like, and my daughter, kind of looking back, it's kind of a funny story. So my daughter lives not too far, hour and a half away up in New Hampshire. She was coming down the next day to visit with her fiance. And so I'm thinking to myself, it's midnight, it's after midnight. She's been asleep for 3 hours. Do I need to wake her up and tell her this, or can I just wait till the morning? And I kind of resolved, like, I'm not going to call her, to myself. And I looked at Lynn and I'm like, should I call her? And Lynn just said, yeah. I'm like, oh. So I put my earbud and called Jenna. She answers on the first ring. And she's like, hello. I'm like, I'm sorry to call you up so much. She's like, did it happen? And I go, yeah. I said, he just passed away just a few hours ago. And she says, a few hours? What took you so long to call me?
Right.
And I thought, oh, good Lord, good thing you knew I was going to wait till 8 a.m. to tell you. So.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, that is so. Wow.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah, man. Crazy.
Amazing. Ooh, I feel like I've kind of dominated the call here today with all this, but good story, really important stuff.
That's good stuff. A lot of people can relate to everything you just said and stuff. It's happens to all of us.
Yeah. And I think we're right at that age where this is pretty common, like I was just Facebook, a friend of mine, her mother died the other day. Like we're this age, they're all that age. And then occasionally someone our age, you find out, oh my gosh, that was young, but it's, yeah.
So my grandmother used to say the first 100 years are the toughest. After that is smooth sailing, she'd say.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah. Crazy. So my mother's parents, when we came to America, they stayed there in the Azores. And my grandmother always wanted to come, but he used to say, well, my America is right next to the church. That's where the cemetery was. Right? So And one day he got home. He was a self-sufficient farmer, so he got home. He said to her, "I think it's time for me to go to America." She got all excited because she thought he was actually going to move to America to be with the family, and he passed away like 15 minutes later. Sitting at the kitchen table, just passed away, just like that. So he knew it was going to happen or something.
Sitting at the kitchen table.
Yeah,
I guess that old saying is correct. When it's your time, it's your time.
yeah.
I'm just thinking he did it about as best you can. He kind of went to sleep and didn't wake up. I mean, who wouldn't want that? And you know, another thing that happened, I was talking to my friend Craig, who knows Dad really well. He's like, "What's up with Bob?" And I kind of filled them all in. And after he kind of got past like the initial, like, "Oh gosh, this stuff," because this was the week of, and we kind of knew it was close. He got this peaceful look on his face. He looked at me and he said, "Your dad's going to die of old age." And I'm like, "Wow, that's true."
Yeah.
Remembered being a little kid and hearing about somebody dying and asking my mom, like, "How did that person die?" And she would say, "Old age." And then I remember like that term went away and it got replaced by cancer and all this other stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And like my dad's old school and bringing it back. I mean, what a gift to die of old age at 95.
So my mother tells me a story. One of her cousins one time came over to the house, and she didn't seem too happy. So everybody said, "What's going on?" She goes, "Well, my father woke up dead this morning." She didn't mean it that way, but that's the way she said it. And my mother still tells me that story all the time. It's funny.
That's really funny, actually.
She says, "When I die, I want to die like my uncle did. He woke up dead."
That is funny. Oh,
Crazy.
wow.
So you guys are working on new songs this afternoon,
We have 4 new ones fully constructed. Gravel Yard is amongst my favorites of them. These will be the next ones recorded. So we're trying to do, it's funny how you work on new stuff and you go, "Let's play something old." And we're like, "How does that go?" And we're like, "Oh, that was off. Let's just, so we got to knock the rust off, but,
yeah.
and you guys are probably a lot of this too. When you're getting up for a gig, it's like, okay, let's get a couple more rehearsals in, because it's really, to be able to do all this and just go with a level of confidence is huge. So
It's interesting is that
we have to get to that point. So
you call a rehearsal, which I like that. Sometimes people say, "Well, we have practice." The practice isn't done at rehearsal. Practice is done at home when you're alone and you're practicing. When you go to the rehearsal, it's not time to practice. It's time to rehearse what you already practiced, right?
that's true.
Uh-huh.
I've never called it anything but rehearsal. I don't know why. It's interesting. But we'll cut today short and go to the brewery.
Ooh.
On a sales call. We're going to go on a 3 of us on a sales call together.
So you have some marketing ideas to get the CD out, or?
So it's funny you said that. We're certainly going to post a digital version of this. So people just go, Spotify, iTunes, Bandcamp, and get it. But something about, and maybe it's just our age, but like for me to have a CD done makes it real, But in addition to that, there was graphic design involved, and my good friend Bert, who's got credit on the back cover there, Bert Carrison of Carrison Design, and photography and a photo shoot, and just all that was so fun to do to make this project. So I think you miss something you miss all the visuals of a digital download, but we need to do it because that's what everybody's doing. And even more funny than that is when I give a CD to somebody, they're like, "Oh, thank you. I don't have a CD player though."
I know, isn't that crazy?
Cars don't have CD players in them.
Mine has a CD player still, and there's one CD in there that I can't eject. It's stuck.
It's a good one though.
But I like this because I can put this in front of my face, right? And it looks like I'm a still face.
Oh boy, our new sponsor.
The sponsor, yeah.
Hmm.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good to have just a nice hobby / diversion, some good people, if we can get out and play some music for people, have them like it, even better. So I'll keep you posted on today's sales call at the brewery.
You have your rehearsal now in your basement in your house, right?
Yep.
So years ago when I first moved to Florida, I was in Brendan for a year, then I moved over to Clearwater, and had moved into a house that I was renting, right in the cul-de-sac. And one time I was out there doing some stuff in the lawn, and there was a couple that was walking by, and they said hi. So we started talking to them. They pointed out to the house that they lived in. I said, "Listen, I know I'm a brand new neighbor, and I shouldn't be saying anything, but I have a complaint about you guys." He goes, "What's that?" I says, "Well, I hear music, live music coming from your house." And his wife smacked him in the arm and said, "See, I told you." Said, "That's not the complaint. The complaint is if you play live music over there again without inviting me over, then we got a problem." He said, "Welcome over Tuesday night, 6 o'clock." So we went over there, and they were rehearsing. I didn't say that I played. I just said it's good stuff. So I was telling them a couple of things that I really liked that they were doing. He goes, "Well, the way you're talking about it sounds like you play." I says, "Well, I play a little bit. I used to play guitar in the band and stuff." And next thing I know, I'm jamming with them because
Love it.
I insulted them that they thought I was complaining, but I wasn't complaining. I was complaining because they didn't invite me.
That's funny.
Musicians are awesome, aren't they?
It's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah,
Oh,
I like it, Mike.
really, these guys are, pardon the pun, but instrumental in my life. And I met him. Oh,
Say that again.
they're instrumental in my life. Where's the cymbal? I didn't hear the cymbal.
I know it's not really. It's there, but
Anyway,
it's more of a hi-hat than a cymbal or something. I don't know. I need a different rim shot.
but it's funny how things happen. And you make a little decision, like look on Craigslist. I find these guys looking for a drummer. I sent an email, and I met these guys on Craigslist, and now we're like buddies and hanging out and all fun. Pretty cool.
There's a site, I think it's called well, I can't think of the name of it now. Ben Mix or something, but there's somewhere you can actually, it's almost like a dating service for musicians. I think it's called Ben Mix, and you can put your stuff on there. And
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name, but I do know what you're referring to.
yeah, so if you're looking for something, you put yourself there, and they look at you and see what you're looking for. And I'm waiting for Led Zeppelin to call me to see if they need me.
Yeah.
I saw a thing that said, you either like Led Zeppelin or you're wrong.
I was with a friend of mine yesterday afternoon, a very good friend. I haven't seen him forever. He's in a new house. He's been there for a year. I hadn't seen the house yet. So we got together for a beer, catching up on everything and what we've been up to and what we've been listening to. He's my concert going friend. And we've turned each other into so much cool music and seen lots of bands and all over the place. And so I was telling one of my bucket lists. I'm not sure why this came out of quarantine. My bucket list concerts, two of them. One of them is Robert Plant and the Band of Joy. So I'm seeing what he's doing now, but the way I describe it is just kind of like Led Zeppelin he's like doing folk versions of Zeppelin.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
He's got a mandolin player. He's got a female guitar player, backup singer. The drummer is amazing, but these are not John Bonham drum parts. It's amazing. Have you seen this?
I've seen them, yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I've seen them live, but
no, but yeah. So if anybody's watching, just go to YouTube, Robert Plant, the Band of Joy, and just see what he's doing with it. And it seems like he's playing these very intimate theater settings, with 1,500, a couple thousand people. And I'm dying to see that.
We talked about Bill Burr, one of my favorite comics.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I guess he's supposed to be a really good drummer.
Really?
Yeah. So he tells this is part of his comedy routine where he talks about how for 1 hour he's trying to do the John Bonham triplets on the drum set on the bass
drum. Yeah.
He did it for about an hour, and then his foot was killing him. He did something to his foot. He was like really having a tough time with it. So he was asking his girlfriend the next morning if she could walk the dog because he couldn't because his foot was killing him. Then he goes into a comedy routine about her response. It's really funny. I guess I've heard from other people say that he's a really good drummer.
Huh. Well, he should know I can tell a joke or two. Just
there you go. Yeah. Wow.
What do you got going on today? What's up for your weekend down there in Florida?
Well, I had to go do some paperwork this morning for real estate transaction,
Nice.
and then there was a house on my way back. There was a house that was having an open house, so I like to pull in to see what's going on, to see what's on the market and stuff. There was a realtor there, and she had a couple of young kids that she was training that they were kind of you know inviting people when they came in and greeting them and stuff. So of course I told them a couple of stupid jokes, and they were laughing so much that the realtor came over to find out what was so funny. So I told her the same jokes, and she thought it was funny. And then there was a couple that was upstairs looking at the house, and they were came down, and the guy said, "What's all the laughter down here?" So I said, "Tony, take over." So I told him 5 jokes in a row. And the guy was dying. He says, "Oh my God, it's so funny. You should be doing comedy." I says, "What do you think I just did?"
You just pop at open houses like I got fresh victims waiting for me right
Oh yeah,
here.
it's awesome, man. And sometimes I think, am I fortunate because I enjoy doing that? And it's good. It's fun for me, or is it because are they fortunate because I showed up for them?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think both those things are true.
I know.
Ah, aha.
Aha! Oh man, good
Well, I'm
stuff.
psyched to be back on track with our podcast because I missed a few weeks in there and life got a little hairy and glad to be back.
Yeah, I actually had some people say, "Hey, what's going on, man?"
Oh yeah, internet's blowing up looking for the next hissy fit, no hissy fit zone. I mean episode.
So here's the thing, so people will understand. I renamed it the No Hissy Fit Zone, but Mike thinks we should name it the Hissy Fit Zone because he thinks people would go to see a hissy fit and they wouldn't
I
be
think less. I think less than that. I think it should just be called hissy fit.
hissy fit. So we've had a couple of arguments about this, and he's at to a point now where he's going to have a hissy fit over
I think argument's too strong a word.
it.
I think what happened was I brought it up one more time. You said, that's about the seventh time you've said that. And I've ignored it every time. And I go, yeah, that's as far as it's gone.
I guess
I still just love the word hissy fit.
the hissy fit. Wow.
All right. What do you think? Should we wrap this sucker up and
Yeah,
is that what they call that? Put it in the can like some tuna?
put in the can like some tuna. Wow.
Hmm. That's
I
the
have
second reference. That's the second reference in this podcast to a cult music movie, which I will remain nameless. But you got to be really good with this movie to figure out those two references.
I had a real good friend. I don't know if I should tell this or not, but we can cut it out if you don't like it. Good friend that guitar player, and back in the '70s, he actually hitchhiked from Massachusetts to Oregon State with no money, just hitchhiked.
To Oregon?
Yeah. So what happened is he'd be hitchhiking, and people said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going as far as you'll take me. I'm going across the country." So so wherever you pull off, I'll get off with you, and I'll. He actually go from walk around neighborhoods, and he'd see somebody that needed maybe the yard to be raked or something. So he'd knock on the door and says, "Hey, my name is Larry. I'm traveling across country, and I noticed that you probably could use your yard raked. If you're willing to give me a sandwich, I do that for you just as an exchange, right?" And people would give him a sandwich, but they'd also give him some money, and he wasn't expecting that. But the thing back
Wow.
then, the hitchhiking was so easy. You just people would pick you up all the time, but then things changed. But one time I met his mother. She was Polish, older in the mid '80s. He says, "Mom, this is my friend Tony. I told you about the Portuguese guy." She goes, "Oh, the Portuguese guy. I love Portuguese people. You guys have really good chorizo and linguiça, the sausages." So yeah, she goes, "Well, you guys are Polish. You have kielbasa." She goes, "Have you ever had kielbasa in a can?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Well, don't bend over." And she was like 85 years old. And I was like, "What the heck?"
He didn't say that. This year,
Yeah. And I looked at Larry. He goes, "That's my mother."
the boss in the can.
And Larry was like one of these guys that was a vegetarian. We used to go hiking. I mean, he just loved to hike mountains. We had a goal of hiking all the mountains, the toughest peak in every state. I think we did 5 of them, but we never went further. I moved to Florida. But anyway, he had a heart attack when he was doing one of his hikes, and the cell phone wouldn't work out there because he was on the mountain, and passed away in the mountain there. Where he loved what he was doing.
Really?
Yeah, just crazy. And he was my son's godfather.
Hmm.
Just an awesome dude.
Wow.
He used to have this thing where he had these, had the toilet roll paper holders with a
Yeah.
spring. Some of them were like chrome or something that looked like they were chrome with a spring in there. Well, he'd have one of those, and every time he saw like a porcupine or something that got run over in the road, he'd turn around and go over and he'd grab a couple of things and he'd put them in that little thing. So he used to have a thing filled with porcupine needles. I don't know why. And then he had this thing where he'd take a beer bottle, like the clear beer bottles, like Miller, and he'd take the labels off. And then he used to have one, two or three of them on top of his coffee table, and it said Monadnock Fresh Air, Mount Washington Fresh Air, right? And he had a cork on it, like a wine cork. And so what happens, because he was a vegetarian, he ate a bunch of potatoes and stuff and cabbage and whatever. So he'd fight to the bottle and he'd cork it. And he'd put that thing on the label, he put it on top of the coffee table. Somebody would come over and say, hey, what's going on with this? Is, oh, that one Monadnock is awesome, beautiful, fresh air. Pop the cork and take a good whiff. The people would do it. They say, whoa. He says, yeah, that's my fart, man.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, he was a funny guy.
Oh.
One time, I don't know if I ever told you this, when we worked at a computer company in Westboro. And whenever it was somebody's birthday, we'd bring a cake in and we'd all have a birthday, during the break. So we had a guy that was German. And I said to him, hey, Larry, we should sing for him in German, man. He might appreciate that more if we do it in German instead of English. He goes, well, I don't speak German. I says, well, I'm from Europe. I can show you what to say. So I wrote down the lyrics to how to sing, Happy Birthday in German. And then he made some copies for everybody, and we rehearsed it a couple of times. And then at break time, we called him over, and his name was Hans. And said, Hans, come here. So he comes over. We all started singing, Abendschlieder, Dankensider, Abendschlieder, Dankensider, Abendschlieder, Fräulein Hans, Abendschlieder, Dankensider. Right, so he's looking at us like we're crazy. And one of the ladies said, hey, don't you like that we did that in German? He goes, that's not German. And they all looked at me and says, it sounded German to me. I just made up words. Oh man, that was funny.
Your other stories got me thinking. I'll save her for next time, but I'm remembering all these old hitchhiking stories. That's funny. I'll chat with them next time. There's some good ones in there.
Yeah, I have some. We used to pick up hitchhikers. Sometimes we'd stop. Like I'd be going from Hudson to Marlboro. Somebody be hitchhiking. I'd stop and I'd say, "Where are you going?" He said, "Marlboro." Says, "Okay, we're going that way. I'll tell them you're coming." And or I'd say, "Hey, you going up?" And they say, "Yes." Says, "Watch out for the power lines." And then we take off. I don't know. Crazy stuff.
I did some long distance hitchhiking back in the day. I got some good stories. You remind me of them. I'll get them going for next time.
Yeah, good. All right, buddy.
Good one, man. Thank you.
Great seeing you.
Absolutely. Right back at you. Right back at you. Talk to you soon.
You are the best, man.
I love you, partner. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Take care.